every morning, or maybe just to keep a particular area clean. Went around, picked up all the littering and make sure they were clean. They allowed like 30, 40 minutes for this, and after that was breakfast. From breakfast, we went to classes. From classes, we went, well, recess and then back to classes. And then we went to the chapel for midday. So there was prayer in the morning, prayer in the afternoon, and then there was prayer in the evening, and then there was prayer at night before we went to bed. It was like that, okay? But it was a lot of fun because we were doing it with kids our age. You know, the best friends, my best friends today are kids that I grew up in the seminary. I don't like to say we went to the seminary, but we grew up in the seminary. We just saw each other grow up. We saw those who were homesick. I still have a classmate today. He's a priest, but I like to tease him. I saw him recently. I went to Nigeria. I went to his parish, and I knocked at the door, and they told me he was in. I went to his bedroom, and he was having siesta, sleeping in the afternoon. I knocked the door, and he goes, "Who's that?" And I said, "It's me." "Who are you?" And I said, "I want to see my mommy." Because that's what he was saying that time. "I want to see my mommy. I want to see my mommy." He was crying. The priest said, "What is it?" And he said, "I want to see my mommy." He was missing home. He was 11 years old at the time. So it was tough. I'm not trying to say it wasn't tough. But you don't have to do all that anymore if you were to go to seminary. You don't have seminary, you don't begin seminary at that age, not in this country. When they come, they're already college age. Okay. So, but I'm not here talking only about vocation to priesthood, but vocation to everything. This was talking about a priest because I'm a priest. I'm talking about my own vocation. It's a witness talk on my part. How did I eventually become a priest? Well, I finished all the high school studies, the college, and I will tell you this, after college, I had some questions in my mind. I wondered if I had it right, if this was really what God was calling me to do. So there can be doubts. Sometimes you wonder, am I on the right track? After college, I left the seminary. I had all kinds of questions in my mind, things that I felt I was missing out. I wanted to date. That's one of them. Okay? I wanted to date. I had friends outside the seminary who would tell me about their girlfriends. They would show me their pictures and things like that. So, and growing up in the seminary, I never had a chance at that. So it felt like I was missing out on something. That's why I left college. It's not that I didn't like the priesthood. It's just that, the excitement. It felt like I missed something all that time. I'd been there since I was 12. Now, 24, I think I was, when I graduated college in 1996. So, I left. Yes, and I did date. But in the end, I felt like this is not the thing for me. It felt like I didn't feel complete. I felt like I had been pulled away from that love of my life, serving around the altar. The prayer wasn't there anymore. Regular mass attendance wasn't there anymore. There were so many things I missed. And it felt like my life was not the same anymore. And then I started thinking, I want to go back to the seminary. But meanwhile, I received a scholarship. There was an exam someone told me about. It was given by Fordham University. Fordham University is in New York. It's a Jesuit university in New York. And they had a program they called Reaching Out to Africa or something like, African Initiative, something like that. So just to help people in the poor countries. But you'd have to pass this exam. to be accepted. And I passed it, and I was the one person they took from Nigeria that year. Okay? Now I ended up in New York. That's how I came to America. And then from Fordham University, I came to Rockford. The rest of it is history. They sent me back to seminary to study theology, because to become a priest, you have to know your theology. They recommend you know philosophy before theology. But if you study something related to philosophy, they usually waive that. If not, they give you a crash program on philosophy, maybe a year, doing what they call pre-theology, and then you go on to theology. But I didn't have to do that because my college was on philosophy. That's what I majored in. So I studied theology at Mount St. Mary's Seminary in Emmitsburg, Maryland, and got ordained. And every day, I've been a priest for 12 years, and every day I'm loving it more. Every day I am loving it more. Every day I am understanding it better. Every day. But as I get older, as I advance in the priesthood, it becomes clearer and clearer to me. And that's because of prayer. I can tell you that I think the reason I heard the call to hear it, that's the basic thing. You have to dispose yourself. Make yourself available to hear the call. I say I was in a situation where I could hear it because my family went to church with me. My family prayed the rosary every morning. Every morning. See, when I told you when I went to seminary, they woke us up at 5 o'clock to go to the river. It was tough for some kids. It was not tough for me because I woke up, my family would wake up at 5 a.m. anyway, so say the rosary. Some of us would, fall asleep at that time, but everybody was on their knees at 5 a.m. My dad woke everybody up to prayer. And after the prayer, then we went to daily mass, and from there to school, So, as a priest, I wake up every, in the morning. Today, you just have 7 o'clock mass. That's not early at all. But I was visiting Nigeria. The first Sunday mass was at 5:30 a.m. First Sunday mass, 5:30 a.m. Because the people there like to start their day early. It's so hot during the day, so they start early so they can accomplish a lot before it gets hot. They may go get some siesta, lay down in the afternoon, cool off, and then they're out again in the evening. So I was there, 5:30 a.m. I said mass for them. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. Well, one thing I noticed, maybe I shouldn't say this since I don't want my people to watch that video, but I know, but they like to get up that early and get going with it. So, to round it up, I heard the call because like Samuel, I was in a place where I could hear it. Samuel was in the temple. Samuel was surrounded by nothing but prayer, nothing but God, and he could hear the call. You need to make yourself available. You need to pray for direction in your life. Your vocation may not be priesthood. Maybe you're being called to be a nurse. Maybe you're being called to be a doctor. Being called to be a doctor means, God is calling you to save lives, not just calling you to make a lot of money. That's not the point. Remember I told you there's a difference between vocation and an occupation. Right? Vocation is what you gotta pray for. There are people who became doctors who make a lot of money, but they have no joy in it. They actually don't like it. Actually, there's a priest who he was a seminarian when I was a seminarian in Maryland. Today he's a priest of Lincoln, Father Chris Kubat. Father Chris Kubat was a neurosurgeon. He was from Milwaukee. He had several years of practice as a physician. But then he gave it all up and went to seminary. Today he makes maybe $26,000, $25,000 or less a year. But he's happy. He's happy. He's been a priest for about 15 years now. He was ordained in 1999. And when he was in seminary, he went around every room. You know, I remember when I got sick, he could prescribe medicine. He took care of everybody. It was, you know, as a priest, he felt like, wow, now I found my vocation. Now I found my life. He could still bring all that knowledge that he had in medicine into the priesthood, helping the sick, helping the poor, helping save lives, but definitely spreading the good news of Jesus. The vocation you should be praying for is a vocation where you do what you like to do, but at the same time bring the love of Jesus to other people through what you're doing. Maybe it's to be a policeman, to protect people. But you do it with the love of Christ. And in doing it, you radiate Christ. That's the important thing. We are sent out to be lights to the world, to be a light to the world. That's what the gospel calls us to. So, there's no other way. I mean, you can't just be out there shining like that ball. That's not the idea. That's not what I mean. But you be the light through whatever you're doing, through the vocation you have in life. Vocation is all about. That's what it's all about. But first of all, you got to find out what that vocation is. And sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes mistakes are made. You think this is your vocation, and in between you're having a career change. You realize, well, it's really not what I'm called to. I'm not called to this. Notice that in the story I read to you, Samuel didn't realize what the call was the first time. He went to Eli. He went to the wrong place. He answered it in the wrong place. Eli then had to give some direction, channel it to the right place. And Samuel became a great prophet of Israel. Samuel anointed the first king of Israel, Saul, the son of Kish. Samuel anointed David, king. Samuel was a towering figure among the prophets of Israel because he answered the call. He answered it right. You too can be great. You too can be great in your own walk of life. But you've got to figure out what a vocation is. You've got to figure out what it is. And you figure it out through prayer. You have to be close to God so that God can reveal to you what His plan is for you in life. Wow. Thank you for listening.
Do any of you, before we take our bathroom break, does anyone want to ask questions to Father? Anthony? No? Any questions? If you do have questions, I want all of you to feel more than free to contact Father at any time, whether it's about your vocation, your personal growth, even choosing a high school. All of these things factor into what we end up doing with our life. And Father is here for all of you. He's here for me and everyone else in the parish to help guide us through that process. Capiche? Okay, you have a 5-minute bathroom break. Be back in your seats. Try to be back in your seats in 3 minutes. Hey, guys over here, no fooling around. Next month, our speaker is going to be talking on saints and sponsors. And then by the end of next month, you guys all need to have your sponsors and saints picked out. So this sheet is supposed to kind of ask some questions that you're supposed to answer when picking out who your saint is. I really encourage you to go home this month and next month and start doing some research, reading the stories of the saints. There's a program called Butler's Lives of the Saints, and they give you the story of a saint in about 1 page. So you don't have to go and read a whole book to get a story. It's just a generic overview of who the saint is.